Police responded to a report of a shooting in North Knoxville just before 9 p.m. on September 14, 2019, and found that 5-year-old Destiny Oliver had been shot. The bullet pierced her hand, a TV remote, and then went through her chest as she laid on the couch. Destiny was rushed by ambulance to the University of Tennessee Medical Center, where she was pronounced dead shortly after arriving. A week after the shooting, Knoxville police arrested her mother, Robin Howington, and charged her with 2 counts of tampering with evidence. And that was all until July 1st, 2020, when the Knox County Grand Jury returned a 6-count indictment that included a felony murder, aggravated child neglect, making a false report, tampering with evidence, and attempted tampering with evidence. Let's get into it. As the minutes and then hours ticked by, Robin Howington told lie after lie about what happened to her 5-year-old daughter the night of September 14, 2019. Howington initially told investigators an unknown man came into the house and shot Destiny once in the chest before escaping in a black Chrysler 300. While at the hospital, Howington did not want to give officers her cell phone. At first, she tried to get a woman in the bathroom to take her phone because she didn't want the police to have it due to her drug activity sales. After that didn't work, she tried to destroy it by putting it under running water. Investigators said when they gained access to Howington's phone, it was wet and would not turn on. After admitting to destroying her phone, Howington changed her story to say that her daughter's father came to her home, began an argument, she got the gun, she turned on him, they tussled, and in their struggle for the weapon, it went off, fatally striking her daughter in the chest before fleeing in a white Chrysler 300. Robin's boyfriend later told investigators that this was not the case and that he witnessed her pull a gun at Destiny's father the day of the shooting, but the father reportedly took the gun away from Howington. While at the scene, officers checked neighbors to see if anyone had a security camera that would yield clues of what happened in the house. According to officers who viewed a neighbor's video footage of Howington's front porch, it showed people coming and going from the home in the minutes before the homicide. It also appeared to show Robin walking out of her front door and walking around to the side just moments before she called 911. When officers checked around the side of the house, they found the weapon that had been used in the killing under a bush. When questioned about the firearm, Howington accused her boyfriend, a different man than Destiny's father, of stashing the gun. She then offered pills to someone who brought drugs from her if he would retrieve the firearm and get rid of it. When investigators told her she was seen on video disposing of the firearm, she said she was scared to tell investigators she had a gun because she believed it was illegal. Robertson changed her story a third time, but she claims it was out of maternal instinct. She told investigators she wiped down the gun and hid it outside after her 2-year-old son used a stool from the living room, climbed into her closet, retrieved the gun from the top of their closet, and shot his own sister in the chest. Investigators went back to her house after questioning her to check her claim that her son had used a stool to reach up in the bedroom closet to get the gun. It didn't add up. Robin was released on bond in October of 2020 under special conditions and monitoring in place. Knox County prosecutors asked the judge to revoke her bond in May of 2021 after she tested positive on April 7, 2021 for prescription anxiety medication and marijuana. She claimed she had a prescription for the medicine, but she wasn't able to provide proof. She also was supposed to be wearing a GPS ankle monitor to track her whereabouts as part of her conditions for remaining free pending her trial. But the GPS monitor was removed after she was taken into custody in Sullivan County on April 8, 2021 for driving on a suspended license charge. Because Sullivan County was holding her on the unrelated charges, she missed the April 19th court date before Knox County criminal judge Scott Green. Considering her situation, including her failed drug screen, Knox County prosecutors argued she's a continuing threat to the community and a risk for failing to appear to trial. Judge Green told Howington she had no legal excuse for smoking marijuana and that it remains illegal in Tennessee. The judge allowed her to remain free but told her it amounted to her house arrest, meaning she only was allowed to come and go to work and tend to basic needs. March 4th, 2024, almost 5 years after Destiny was shot, Robin stood trial for her murder. The state contended Howington was criminally responsible for her daughter's death based on her actions and negligence. Investigators could not definitely say who shot Destiny. Howington denied that she did it. Prosecutors Ashley DeMott and Heather Good brought several witnesses to the stand, including the 911 dispatcher, the woman Howington tried to get to take her phone in the bathroom, who testified that Howington begged her to take the phone and even offered her $100. Officer Andrew Cummings was the first Knoxville police officer on the scene and to testify for the prosecution. He testified that he wasn't sure what he would find at the home when he arrived, but once inside, no one was crying, screaming, or yelling, and Robin was just sitting on the couch talking calmly to someone on the phone. When Officer Cummings asked her who had been shot, she pointed toward Destiny on the couch. When Officer Cummings saw the badly wounded child, he scooped her up in his arms and took her outside to assess her condition and wait for an ambulance. Let's hear his testimony.
The jury, what it was like.
So pulled up on scene. I arrived very slowly to make sure, again, to see what I'm walking into. Again, shots fired. Didn't know if suspect was still on scene or anything like that. So arrived, pulled up slowly to the house, tried to get a good survey of the scene, see if I saw anybody, any suspects, any cars fleeing, somebody running, or anything. Initially, what I saw was a young male, young child, I should say, at the screen door of the home, and his hands were placed up against the glass, and he was just kind of smiling, looking at the lights. So, of course, I have my gun drawn, and I'm just trying to, again, protect myself, protect anybody else, because, again, I don't know what I'm walking into. So I get to the door, and I remember walking to the door. A young man took off into the home, started crying, and I see a young lady sitting on the couch inside the home. Would you like me to describe the home from what I remember? Yeah,
if you could.
So when you open the door, it was, I'm going to call it maybe like a living room. I'll call it living room number one. Very wide open space, saw a couch, TV. And then as you walked in a little bit further, there was, I think I remember that, a arch over walk through area, and it kind of went to what I call living room number two. And in that living room number two is where I saw a young lady who we found to be my complainant, or our complainant, sitting. No problem. I saw a young lady who found later to be our complainant sitting on the couch, and later noticed that it seemed that she was on her phone, or had her phone up to her ear. And I walked in. I think I maybe just kind of cracked the door, and I said, "Did you call 911?" And she was like, "Yeah," kind of waved me in. And I kind of walked in. I go, "Is anybody hurt?" And she just kind of points to behind her. And that's when I saw So when I saw a foot of a young child just over the armrest of the couch. And at that point, I just holstered up, grabbed her, and ran outside. And as I'm walking outside, I am assessing her for injuries. I noticed a defect to her hand. I can't remember if I saw a defect to her arm, or I say a better choice of words is a hand wound or an arm wound. I know I saw a hand wound, and I can't remember if she had on a dress or a shirt, but I remember looking up under her shirt or whatever she had on, and I saw a chest wound. So at that time, I immediately got on the radio and told them and said, "Hey, we have a victim, and you just go ahead and send everybody in." With that type of a call, KFD or Knoxville Fire Department is automatically dispatched along with EMS or AMR Rural Metro. I don't know. I went to the back of my car and just kind of again assessed her again, checked her all over so I can give a good report to the EMS and fire crew that was arriving.
Dr. Amy Halls, Assistant Medical Examiner and Forensic Pathologist at the Knox County Regional Forensic Center, said that the gun was held close when it was fired. Evidence also showed there was gun residue on Howington's dress and on the 2-year-old's clothes. That would indicate they were both close to the gun when it was fired. Officer Brandon Wardlaw was also called to the witness stand by the prosecution. Wardlaw was one of the officers who questioned Howington the night of the shooting. The trial turned into a small battlefield as the defense said authorities mishandled the investigation. Wayland said from the beginning, Howington told them she was raped by an officer and she was scared. Wardlaw also confiscated Howington's phone that night. In a continuous exchange between Wardlaw and the defense attorney argued that Wardlaw took Howington's phone away too quickly and did not have a reason to take her phone. Wardlaw told the court he originally let Howington keep her phone and only took it away after he found out she tried to give it to someone in a hospital bathroom. Officer Wardlaw said it was suspicious that she was trying to get rid of or destroy evidence. Then you watch investigator Tim Riddle lose his mind and yell and scream at her. Did you ever stop and say, whoa, let's take a minute? Did you ever say that? Said defense attorney Wayland. No, Wardlaw said. Wardlaw said they had a goal that night to find out who killed Destiny. At first sympathetic to her, officers Tim Riddle and Brandon Wardlaw changed their stance as they began to see that what she was claiming simply failed to add up. She lied about the gun, the sequence of events before the shooting, especially about what she did. Howington's attorney, Mike Wallen, painted his client as a distraught mother suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder who made bad decisions in an attempt to protect others. He told jurors from the start that the little boy had fired the gun. Howington tried desperately to protect the child, he argued. He claimed that her inconsistent statements about who pulled the trigger were due to extreme distress because she endured post-traumatic stress disorder from a prior sexual assault. The defense argued that Howington had previously been raped by a police officer and was suffering from PTSD, which is why she didn't want to answer the officer's questions. The defense argued that detective got too angry with Howington too quickly in the questioning process, despite knowing her history. The defense also pointed out that she had just witnessed her daughter get shot and was not in the right state of mind to answer questions from the police.
Okay, Robin, I want to talk to you a little bit about Thursday, the 12th of September 2019. Did something happen on that day?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened?
Antoine was supposed to pick Destiny up from school, and he did. Instead of keeping her till around 7, he came to my house instead and started acting irate because I had a new boyfriend that he didn't know anything about.
And how soon was this after he picked up Destiny from the school?
Not very long.
And so he was coming and dropping her off. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Did he and Callie get into a little argument out front?
Yes.
And as a result of that, did you ask him to leave?
Multiple times.
And did he leave?
No, sir.
As a result of that, his not leaving, what did you do?
I went into my house and got the gun and brought it outside and asked him to leave.
And what did he do in response to that?
He took the gun from me and he took it apart
And what did he do with it?
and threw it on the ground.
And what did he do after that?
He went to his car and attempted to back up and hit me.
And then he left.
Correct.
What happened? What did you do?
I made sure the kids was okay and I went outside to smoke and move my car.
When you came back from moving the car, what did you do?
I was walking up to my house and it's a glass door and I seen a flash of light go off. And when I walked in, Gavin was screaming and crying. And the gun was on the ground.
There's some tissues up there in that box. And did you see where Destiny was at that point?
Yes, she was on the couch.
And was she moving at all?
No,
Did you try to speak with her at all?
multiple times.
I'm sorry.
Multiple times.
And did she ever respond to you at that point?
No, sir.
Now, what was going through your mind at that moment?
I couldn't fucking believe what was going on.
What did you do?
I got the gun and I took it outside
Why did you take it outside?
because I didn't want it to cause any more harm.
And if the video shows that happens at about 8:53:53, and at 8:53:54 you're calling 911. Do you recall if you were doing those two things at the same time?
Yes, I was.
And after you put the gun outside and came back in, what did you do?
I got a towel and put it on Destiny.
And when the officer, you saw the video when the first officer arrived, Officer Cummings, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he testified that when he walked in the door, that you were sitting on the couch near Destiny on the phone.
Yes, sir.
Who were you talking to on the phone at that moment?
The 911 dispatcher.
Do you remember what the last words you said to the 911 dispatcher were?
They're here.
So when he walked in and saw you on the phone, that's when you're telling 911 that they're here.
Correct.
Now, we're going to talk about that 911 call. When you made that 911 call, did you know Destiny had been shot?
Yes.
And you told them that a black male, unknown black male, entered the door and fired a shot and shot Destiny.
Yes.
Why did you tell that story to 911?
Because I didn't want Gavin to live with the fact that he had shot his sister for the rest of his life.
The story that an unidentified black male had shot from the door was not true, was it?
No, sir.
And you remember the interview that you had that night later on, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember Mr. Riddle telling you that saying a black man shot your child was racist? He thought that was racist.
Yes, sir.
You're racist.
No, sir.
Callie is your boyfriend, right?
Yes.
What race is Callie?
African American.
What race is Destiny's father, Antoine?
The same.
And Gavin's dad, African American?
Yes, sir.
And let's be honest, your two children, what race are they?
They are biracial. White, African American.
And let's talk for a minute about this gun outside the house. You did put the gun outside the house, right?
We're just not relating around.
Yes, sir.
What's the objection to
Leaving.
don't leave?
The cops insisted that they would take me.
And eventually did they?
Yes, sir.
So you heard that statement, the recording of the statement with Investigator Riddle at the house, right?
Yes.
And it was right after that, it was after that that you were taken to the hospital.
Yes.
The state just went through a bunch of phone calls and texts that you had made from your phone that evening.
Yes.
And we've talked, and you saw the video, and it's about 9:21:30 that you leave the house in the police car.
Correct.
And there are several calls at 9:03 and 9:21 to Tab.
Yes.
Who is Tab?
One of my friends,
And her first name is?
Tabitha.
Okay, that's thus Tab. Why were you calling Tab at that point?
To get her to come and get Gavin.
And you called Callie, right?
Correct.
And on one of those text messages, you also asked him to go get the gun.
Yes.
What were you calling him about?
I wanted him to come to the hospital.
So that's who you were talking to in the back of the squad car.
Yes.
Do you know what time it was when you got to the hospital?
No, sir.
And did you see Destiny at the hospital?
No.
But at some time, the doctor came out and talked to you.
Yes.
And what did that doctor tell you?
That my daughter had passed away.
And you heard Officer Wardlaw today testify about your reaction.
Yes.
Was he accurate?
No.
What was your reaction when the doctor told you your daughter had died?
I kept on telling her there's no way that it could be true.
Did you believe at that point that it could be true?
No.
How would you describe your mental state in that moment?
I was in hell.
And where was your mother was still alive at that point, wasn't she?
Yes.
Where was she?
In our home in Bristol.
And what physical condition was she in?
She had her leg amputated about a year before.
After you got that news from the doctor, where did you go next?
To the police station.
Did you ask him to take you there?
No,
Why did you go?
I had to.
How'd you get there?
In a police car.
As you were sitting in that interview room that we've seen on video here, what was your state of mind at that point?
Distraught, heartbroken, devastated.
Had you come to grips yet with the fact that your daughter was dead?
No.
Okay, let's talk for a minute about these interviews you did there at the KPD.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how long after that doctor told you that your daughter was dead that you were talking to those officers? Do you know?
No, sir.
Do you remember how you got into that room?
No.
Do you know what floor you were on?
No.
Do you remember getting into that interview room?
No.
Did they ever offer to let you leave and go talk to somebody or review some notes or?
No.
And pretty early on, you told them you were scared there.
Yes.
And why did you tell them that? What was making you feel scared?
Because I had been raped by a police officer and I felt threatened because of the situation.
And then you've seen this, you were there.
Yes.
And you've seen the videos of our friend Detective Riddle and his response to that. Did that help to calm you?
No, sir.
Did it help you to feel like the police were there really to help you?
No, it proved to me that exactly how I felt was adequate.
And you told them a lot of things during those interviews.
Yes.
Do you remember a lot of it?
No.
Why wouldn't you remember it? Wouldn't it be important to you to get good facts to the police in this investigation?
Connor, again, I'm trying not to, but if we can just not leave and just ask.
No more questions.
I won't leave, Judge. Did you tell them some things that weren't true?
Yes.
Did you know you were telling them some things that weren't true?
Yes.
Did you not know you were telling them some things that weren't true?
Yes.
While you're in that room, have you yet put these pieces together that Destiny is gone?
I still don't want to accept it.
And where was Gavin at that point?
With a neighbor.
In that first interview, we have established through the proof that the hospital declared Destiny dead at about 10:06, and at 11 o'clock you're in the interview room. Is that how you recall that time frame?
I have no idea the time frame.
But if I tell you it's within an hour of your leaving the hospital, would that surprise you?
No.
Judge, if she doesn't know, I'm trying to help this woman get through this story.
Ask open-ended questions. She's your witness.
On your second interview on the 17th, where had you come from when you arrived at the KPD?
From planning Destiny's funeral.
While you were at the hospital, you've heard the testimony of Miss Sands and Detective Wardlaw. Were you trying to give your phone away?
Yes.
Why?
Because it had text messages of me selling drugs.
Did you think they were going to arrest you for that?
Yes.
And it also had the text on there about the gun, about asking somebody to go get the gun.
Yes.
Why were you concerned about getting that gun away from the house?
Because I knew that that was the gun that Gavin used to shoot Destiny, and I was trying to protect him.
The prosecution cross-examined Howington and pointed out that Howington said she hadn't seen the gun in days prior to the shooting.
2-year-old Gavin found this gun within the 3 minutes that you're outside. It had to be somewhere pretty readily accessible to him, correct?
I never seen it with my own eyes till the 14th.
So for 2 days, you don't lay eyes on your gun, but in 3 minutes, your 2-year-old found it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're loaded, cocked, no safety on gun, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you weren't actually in the room when he shot, correct?
No.
Now, you do understand, you've heard the expert testify about gunshot residue. You heard that testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
You do understand that gunshot residue was found on your clothing, correct?
And I assumed that it came from when I was trying to help my daughter. Do you not understand?
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about you trying to help your daughter, okay? You stated that you rendered aid to her. How did you do that?
I was talking to her, saying her name. I got a towel. I prayed.
Again, you've heard the testimony of the officers who were on scene, have you not?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Howington, you didn't have a drop of blood on you. So how were you rendering aid to your daughter on scene?
I didn't really see a whole lot of blood on the front of her until we looked at that video or whatever the pictures. I didn't even know that there was that much blood on the couch.
You saw the front of her shirt, right? That had to be cut open?
Yes.
Saw that it had blood all over it, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
It didn't have blood all over it, no. It just was like right here. When it happened, that's what I seen.
So you said that you rendered aid while you were on the phone with 911, is that right?
Yes. I kept asking them, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And they couldn't tell me.
Was that before or after, again, while you're on the phone with 911? Is that before or after you're outside hiding the weapon that was just used to shoot your
I was
daughter?
on the phone with 911 when I took the gun outside.
Correct, but you also just testified that while you were on the phone with 911 that you were rendering aid to your daughter. So I'm just trying to figure out how it was that you were hiding a gun and rendering aid to your daughter.
I did not hide a gun, ma'am. I just threw it out there.
Okay. But again, that's not my question. My question is, at what point, when you're on the phone with 911 and you are taking the gun outside and throwing it in the bush, when did you render aid to your daughter?
Right after. I did not want the gun to be in there because I didn't want it to cause any more harm.
And you didn't want to get in trouble, did you?
I'm sitting here right now, ma'am.
Again, that's not my question, Ms. Howington. My question is, from your very first statement, you said that the reason you took that gun outside is because you didn't want to get in trouble, right?
If I get in trouble, I can't take care of Gavin.
Ms. Howington, my question is that what you said to officers that night? That the reason you took that gun outside is because you yourself did not want to get in trouble?
I assume so, yes.
Okay. Are you aware that the reason that we had to take those photographs of Gavin is because you lied and said that he got the gun by using a stool?
I did not lie.
You didn't lie when you said that Gavin...
I assumed that Gavin got a stool because I was not sure how he got the gun to shoot his sister.
Ma'am, do you recall saying that you saw the stool at your closet and moved it back before officers got there?
Not right off, no.
If you said that, would that be a lie? If you said in your first interview that you saw the stool at your closet and that you moved it before officers got there to help Destiny, would that have been a lie?
I don't recall that.
Okay.
Howington testified she tried to get rid of the gun to protect her 2-year-old son because he was the one who pulled the trigger. She said she never thought she would face a murder charge because I didn't have anything to do with the shooting of my daughter, Howington said. Jurors began deliberation on March the 8th, 2024, about 12:20 p.m. and had made up their minds by 2:15 p.m. They found Robin Howington guilty of reckless homicide, 2 counts of aggravated child neglect, filing a false police report, tampering with evidence, and attempted tampering with evidence. Robin had been out on bond, but with the verdict, Judge Green ordered her to be taken immediately into custody. She showed little emotion after she was led out of the courtroom. April 19, 2024, the judge said that Howington made matters worse by trying to hide the firearm while her daughter's body was still warm. Judge Green Scott sentenced Robin Howington to 22 years in the Tennessee Department of Corrections for the shooting death of her daughter Destiny, saying he did not believe Howington's claim that her 2-year-old son fired the weapon. "I will never believe that," he stated. "I don't think you were honest with the jury about that," Judge Green said, "and you are not the victim in this case."
Care about anybody in this case but herself. This was not about protecting 2-year-old Gavin. All of her lies were not about protecting Gavin. If she wanted to protect her son, she should have done that before he got a hold of her gun.
Let me hear from Mr. Alber.
So Your Honor, he does have a victim impact statement that I'm going to read.
You're going to read it?
I'm going to read it on his
Okay.
Your Honor, I have a lot to say. I beg the court indulgence while I speak my piece because I've found over the years I'm not always afforded an opportunity to say stuff, and I must speak the truth. So this time, if for no other reason than that, this court is going to hear the truth. I can't speak for anybody else, but I can tell you if nobody else says it, I'm going to speak the truth, and this is it. Who knew that on September the 12th of 2019, that would be the last time that I got to see and spend time with my beautiful daughter, Destiny Jariah Oliver. She was absolutely the true definition of a daddy's girl. All Destiny ever wanted was to be with her daddy. Robin was jealous of our relationship and she couldn't stand it. Destiny was the best daughter that any father could have asked for. I was so excited to surprise my daughter and to have the opportunity to pick her up from school that Thursday. Her face always lit up when I arrived to get her, and that day was no different. I always made plans of doing a lot of fun activities with her after school when I was able to get her. That day was different though. It was very special. First, we went and got food from her favorite place, Chick-fil-A. Next, we continued our journey to National Fitness Center off Walbrook Drive in Knoxville. She went swimming and she also did rock climbing that day. After a few hours, we left there and went to Brewster's to get ice cream. We ordered our ice cream and sat on the bench and enjoyed it together. As we sat there, I looked at my baby girl. I knew something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. We talked about what she wanted to be for Halloween and what she wanted for her 6th birthday that was coming up that was less than 4 weeks away. But that moment was extra special as I stared into my daughter's eyes, not knowing that it would be the last time of having her in my possession. My last time being able to do anything with my precious daughter. We left West Knoxville and headed back over towards Fountain City so that I could take her home. As I got closer to Broadway, Robin called and asked if I could go to Party City to get a costume for Destiny for school. We had a few words. At that point, I knew that she was trying to cause problems. I hung up on her and went to Party City and let Destiny pick out her costume for school. Shortly after that, we arrived at her house. I got Destiny out of my vehicle, and as I approached the door of the house, Robin came out of the house and instantly started attacking me. I tried to deflect the blows that she was throwing. Then her boyfriend came outside, and I asked him to get her, but he refused. He then closed the door so that the kids couldn't see what was going on. Robin and I had a few more words before she went back inside and came back out with a gun. I asked her, "What are you going to do with that?" And she said she was going to shoot me. I noticed that she really didn't know what she was doing, and the first chance that I got, I grabbed the gun and disarmed her. I took the clip and made sure that no round was in the chamber. I was going to throw the gun on the roof of the house so that she couldn't get to it, but ended up tossing the clip in one direction and the gun in the opposite direction so that they would be far apart from each other. Robin then ran back into the house to get something else. I didn't know what she was doing, so I got back in my vehicle. She came back out with her cell phone, threatening to call the police on me. She asked her boyfriend, did he find the firearm, and he said yes. She then proceeded to try to open the door of my vehicle, yelling and screaming at me. I rolled my window down and told her boyfriend that he needed to get away from her because she's trouble, and that he had no clue that she was a psychopath, and then I left. To this very day, I wish that I never had taken Destiny back over there that Thursday night. Robin then called me early Saturday morning as if nothing happened Thursday night. I did get to speak to my daughter on the phone, but it was not long at all. Robin took the phone from her and proceeded to talk as if nothing happened. I told her she was crazy, and then I hung up on her. I didn't speak to her anymore that Saturday. I didn't find out about Destiny's death until the next day, which was Sunday, and was told that she had passed away. The grandmother called and told me that Destiny was dead. I couldn't believe what I was being told. It was the worst day of my life. My family and I went straight to the Knoxville Police Department to find out what happened to Destiny. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being lied to. I spoke with an officer. He asked me a few questions about my whereabouts Saturday night, and shortly after that, he said that I was the one who had killed my daughter, which was false. I wasn't even in the city when my daughter had died. I was told to come back the following day to speak with detectives. I came back in the next day, which was Monday, and I was interrogated for quite some time. The detectives wanted my cell phone so that they could search it and invade my privacy. I was humiliated, yelled at by these detectives, and then accused of killing my own daughter in cold blood. I couldn't believe what I was going through. Here I am, a grieving father that had just lost his daughter and being blamed for killing her. I was threatened multiple times that if I didn't give them my cell phone, that they would hold me and lock me up. I ended up giving it to them and still haven't received it back to this day. 2 days after the interrogation, they got a search warrant and kicked in my door and raided my residence. They told my landlord that I was wanted for murder and that I was never coming back because I was going down for killing Destiny. My landlord thought very highly of me until that day, and he wanted me out of the house immediately. Unfortunately, I wasn't there at the time of the raid, and that was the same time as my daughter's funeral. I wasn't able to attend the funeral because of this situation. They really ruined my entire life while I was still trying to process the death of my baby girl. I was unable to get all of my belongings from the house. Some items were stolen, some items were also left behind. I ended up spending a lot of unnecessary funds on attorney's fees because I was being accused when I was completely innocent and had nothing to do with any of it. Your Honor, this woman has caused my family, friends, and I so much pain and heartache. She has been a very violent individual. In the past, she tried to have my ex-girlfriend kidnapped and admitted that to me. My ex-girlfriend had to purchase a gun for protection because of Robin. Robin has vandalized multiple vehicles of mine. She's vandalized one of my other friends' vehicles that was parked outside of my place.
Brian, this goes beyond the scope.
I can consider it only for the purposes of victim impact statement. It's not evidence that will be within the record.
I've lost thousands and thousands of dollars that I've invested over the years because of this lowlife. She has harassed me by following me and popping up at my house at all times and stalked me for years because I didn't want to be with her and she couldn't stand seeing me in a relationship with someone else. She broke into my house and stole a lot of valuable items previously. She has lied and made false reports numerous times. One time she even called the police and told them that I was kidnapping our daughter one night. She had the whole entire police department at my house for nothing. She's threatened to have my mother's brains blown out. She's also said that she knew people that didn't have a problem with killing a kid. She even called DCS on my son's mom for no reason, trying to get her children taken away from her. This woman should have been taken off the streets years ago and put away behind bars, but she lies and manipulates the system and always manages to slip away without getting in trouble. This woman is a real piece of work, as you can all see by now. This isn't even a fraction of all that she's put me through. Robin used my daughter to get at me any way that she could. Sometimes she would go weeks without letting me see and talk to Destiny. There were numerous times that Destiny cried and cried because she didn't want to go back home with her mother. As of October of 2017, Robin had lost custody of both Destiny and Gavin. They awarded custody to Robin's mother. I knew nothing about this. No one contacted me about the situation at all. I never knew anything about these court dates. I didn't find this out until March of 2019. I went to pay child support and happened to ask for any and all documentation filed on Destiny because I was seeking custody of my daughter. They printed out numerous documents, and this is how all of this was revealed to me. After 2 years of me not knowing any of this, it was finally revealed because of my actions. I found out that Robin had a real bad drug habit and she'd lost custody of Destiny because she kept failing drug screens while she was pregnant with Gavin. The court awarded the grandmother custody without my knowledge. Even when Destiny died, the grandmother was there supervising the kids, was supposed to be there supervising the kids because she was appointed to do so. Robin wasn't allowed to have the children unsupervised. The grandmother violated a court order and failed us all, as well as the state, because they shouldn't have been awarded custody without each of the fathers being evaluated and looked at as having custody of their own children. If the state would have done their job correctly, my daughter would have been in better care and would still be alive today. Robin is negligent. She cared nothing about her children. She made up multiple lies years back and had me arrested. I had to enter a best interest plea just to keep from going to jail. I provided video evidence of her actions. She has been the aggressor this entire time, telling me that she's going to have me put in prison somehow, some way. Even in this case, she told law enforcement that I was the one that had killed my daughter. I am the victim here, and she needs to be put away forever. She lied historically and used the state of Tennessee as a weapon against me and everybody else and attempted to do the same thing in this case. In the past, I've shown videos that I've taken surreptitiously to have to prove that this country isn't premised on proving our innocence. I've had to prove my innocence all because she is a woman, but in reality, she is a lowlife and cared nothing about Destiny or her other children. The only thing she cares about is herself. She lied repeatedly in this case. She's culpable in it. Robin is the reason that my daughter is dead. It is my desire to see her rot in prison. I want her to be there for the rest of her life if possible. If not, I beg the court to give her the maximum sentence possible. She deserves to die in prison. She is responsible for the death of one of the weakest in society, a small innocent child who was defenseless and had no say in what her mother did and put her through. Yet she did it over and over, and the state turned a blind eye to it. She deserves to die in a prison cell somewhere. That's what I'm asking, to put her in prison for as long as you possibly can. She's a liar, she's a manipulator, she's responsible for the death of our daughter. Robin is a poor excuse for a human being. She again is responsible for the death of a child, someone who didn't have any say-so in what was going on. She manipulated the courts in this country and punked everyone here for years, making up lies about me. Again, I've had to enter a best interest plea, and my attorneys have had to show videos that I've taken to prove my innocence. I've had to prove my own innocence, and that's not how this country was founded. That's not what our Constitution is premised upon. But I've had to do that because she is a master liar and manipulator and used this court and every court in this country to her benefit to get even with me and to accomplish her will, all because I didn't want to be with her. Even during the course of this case, she's lied through her teeth and said it was me that was responsible for this horrific tragedy. I ask this court to give her the maximum sentence possible. It is my desire to see her spend the rest of her life in a prison cell. Because of Robin, I have no daughter now. At a minimum, I desire for her to be put away forever. I'm asking for consecutive sentences, maximums on every charge ran consecutively so that she never comes out of prison. She is a poor excuse for a human being. That is what prisons are made for, is to keep people like her who victimize anybody that they can for their own benefit. I'm asking you to keep her in there forever. If you can give her a life sentence, Your Honor, that still wouldn't be enough. It's my desire to see her go away for the rest of her life. It's my desire to see her die in prison. You know what else she did? She blamed it on her 2-year-old son for the death of our daughter. She is a despicable human being. Not only did she victimize and cause the death of our daughter, she further victimized her own 2-year-old child by blaming him for his sister's death. Your Honor, I am begging you to give her the longest and maximum sentence that you possibly can string together.
All right, thank you. Ms. Howington, this is a strange case. This is one of the more unusual cases among the hundreds that I've tried as a lawyer or as a judge. But there are a couple of things in this case that are just glaringly obvious. I agree with what General Good just said a few minutes ago. You are not the victim in this case. You have a previous history of criminal convictions or criminal behavior. What you had before the night that this tragedy occurred was not very significant, although you were engaged in the trafficking of illicit narcotics, and the court can consider that. But I really don't know how you could have made this much worse than what you did that night. Within literally minutes of when your daughter had been shot and killed, you were attempting to hide the firearm that was used to kill her. You're not concerned, you weren't then, you're not now. You're not concerned with trying to protect Gavin. You're concerned with trying to protect Gavin's mother. And you have been, you were that night, and I will believe that from this point forward. I don't know how you could interpret this evidence any other way. You have a previous history of criminal conviction, criminal behavior. You tried to hide the gun that was used to kill your daughter while her body was still warm. When you were taken to UT Hospital to be checked for shock before you spoke with law enforcement, you attempted to solicit another person to take your cell phone so that it couldn't be looked at, and then you tried to destroy the cell phone. Within seconds, if not minutes, of when your daughter was shot and killed, you're calling 911 and making up a story about how it all happened. And repetitively, I quit counting at about 20, repetitively throughout hours worth of police interviews, not just that night, but on other occasions as well. You made up story after story after story, and this court can consider every bit of that as criminal conduct. So you clearly have a previous history of criminal convictions or criminal behavior which enhances your sentence in this case. As to count 2, the aggravated child neglect where there was serious bodily injury, count enhancement factor number 9 applies as well. A firearm and your handling of that firearm is the reason that your daughter is not here now. It's not because Antoine Oliver showed up 2 days earlier. It strains the bounds of credulity to believe that your boyfriend just laid that gun down where a small toddler could just walk in within 2 or 3 minutes after you and your children arrived home, found the gun, pointed it at your daughter, and pulled the trigger when that gun had been in that same place for 24 to 36 hours and nobody saw it. I will never believe that. And I don't think you were honest with the jury about how that happened. But the simple fact remains that however he found it, you were responsible for that gun. What I believe happened, if in fact it was your child that had the gun, when the bullet was fired that killed your daughter, there was a man that came in. And I don't know if it really was somebody to collect window tint payments like you testified to, or if it was a pill deal but somebody came in. It was a strange man in your house, and I believe you had that gun out for protection. I believe you had it round chambered and the safety off, and that gun was left there, and when you stepped out to smoke, the tragedy occurred. But that's on you and nobody else. So I place great significance on the two enhancement factors that I found. Your history as well as the firearm use in this case. As stated previously, the mitigating factors, this was an unusual case. There are unusual circumstances, but I don't place much weight on that as far as mitigating your punishment. So if you would, please, ma'am, stand up. Ms. Howington, in docket number 117659, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty in count one of the lesser included offense of reckless homicide, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 2, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of aggravated child neglect, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 22 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 4, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of false report, a Class D felony, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. In count 5, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of tampering with evidence, a Class C felony, you were found guilty of that offense and sentenced to a term of 5 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. And finally, in count 6, based upon the jury's verdict of guilt, finding you guilty of attempted tampering with evidence, a Class D felony, you were sentenced to a term of 3 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction as a range 1 offender. These sentences will be served concurrently, one with the other, for a total aggregate sentence of 22 years to serve within the Tennessee Department of Correction. And as your attorney has pointed out, the service rate is at 85%. I wish we weren't here. I know you wish you weren't here. Mr. Oliver wishes that we weren't here, but you're the one responsible. That'll be the judgment of the court. Good luck to you.
I agree with the judge. I think Robin mistakenly fired that gun. I don't think she intentionally meant to do it, but I think she mistakenly fired that gun. There is no way that her 2-year-old son got up in the closet and got that gun, walked it back into the living room, and then shot his sister in the chest. He probably would have shot himself before he even made it back to the living room, if that was the case. I really do believe that Robin was responsible for her daughter's death. All right, guys, that is it for me. Comment below your thoughts on this case. Do you think Robin shot that gun, or do you think her son actually shot that gun? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys, take care of you. Until next time.